Welcome back to my channel, MMA Clash Daily. Ilia has just confirmed that his next fight will be against Paddy Pimblett, and he even revealed details of a private conversation he had with Dana White about it. This is the kind of update fans have been waiting for, not the off-the-cage drama about his personal life. In a recent appearance with Satana Sports Georgia, Ilia finally broke his silence on the highly anticipated matchup, even hinting at a possible location for the bout. During a long interview, Ilia didn't hold anything back. He went off on why he dislikes Pimblett so much, making it very clear that this isn't just a fight for rankings or belts, but something deeply personal. He brought up Paddy's harsh comments about the 2008 tragedy in Georgia, something that has stuck with him ever since. Ilia said those words will never be forgotten, and the anger from that moment has been simmering for years. Now it's finally going to explode inside the Octagon. This isn't just a grudge match. For Ilia, it's about representing his country and making a statement. He's coming off a massive knockout win over Charles Oliveira that shook up the entire MMA world, and he's promising to do something even more brutal to Pimblett. He made it clear that Paddy won't just lose, he'll be embarrassed in front of the world. According to Ilia, Dana White gave the green light to make this fight happen, and the UFC is fully on board with the idea. Dana reportedly told him that this is exactly the kind of fight fans want to see. With Ilia already holding gold and Paddy being one of the most talked about names in the lightweight division, this matchup is guaranteed to draw massive attention. Ilia made it clear that there's no respect between them, no handshakes, and no friendly exchanges. This one is fueled by real animosity. He wants to finish Pimblett and make sure there's no doubt left about who's on top. As things stand, the fight is expected to be officially announced soon, with both fighters already preparing for one of the most heated matchups of the year. Ilia is promising violence, and if his last performance was any sign, fans can expect fireworks when he and Pimblett finally step into the cage. Moving on to another news, Petr has officially accepted Merab's call-out for a rematch in December, just 2 months after Merab's dominant title defense against Corey Sandhagen. This is a fight with serious history behind it. In their first meeting, Merab completely outclassed Petr over 5 rounds, putting on one of the most dominant performances in Bantamweight title fight history. But now, Yun says he was only at 50% that night and is hungry to get his redemption. For Merab, this is about cementing his legacy. He's already on one of the most impressive runs the division has ever seen, beating elite contenders back-to-back and pushing the pace like nobody else can. A win in December would give him his 4th title defense, putting him ahead of all-time greats like Dominic Cruz and Aljamain Sterling, and pushing him into a tier of his own. Few fighters have ever defended a UFC title 4 times in a single calendar year. There's also been chatter around a possible super fight with Alexander Volkanovski, something that has both fans and Merab's coach excited. But Merab himself isn't too focused on that right now. In his words, Volkanovski is just too good, and his priority is staying dominant in his own division. Meanwhile, his close friend Aljamain Sterling is chasing gold at featherweight, so Merab wants to keep defending at 135 and build an untouchable resume. The UFC is targeting December 7th for UFC 323, and both sides seem interested. Yan made it clear he's ready, saying he's been waiting for this chance and that this time it will be a completely different fight. He wants to prove the first one was a fluke. Merab, on the other hand, wants to keep making history. If everything lines up with the UFC's plans and no injuries get in the way, this massive rematch could be locked in soon. A 4th title defense for Merab, a chance at redemption for Yan, and one of the most high-paced fights the division can offer. This one could define the bantamweight division for years to come. Moving on to another news, Magomed Ankalaev's recent loss to Alex Pereira at UFC 320 is gaining even more attention after a shocking revelation. Shortly after the fight, Ankalaev's manager Ali Abdelaziz claimed that the former champion entered the Octagon with a serious injury. At first, many fans weren't sure what to make of it, but now new footage has surfaced that backs up every word. Just 20 days before the fight, Ankalaev was seen dealing with a broken rib. The clip shows him wincing in pain as his team checks the injury, asking him where the pain spreads and how severe it is. They can be heard asking if it spreads sideways or upward, and Ankalaev points out exactly where it hurts the most. At that moment, his coaches strongly advised him to pull out of the fight, but Ankalaev refused. He made the decision to move forward, determined to defend his position at the top of the division, despite clearly being far from 100%. This injury became an even bigger factor during the fight itself. Pereira appeared to zero in on that same area with brutal precision. He landed multiple heavy shots, including hard elbows directly to Ankalaev's injured ribs. That onslaught broke him down as the fight progressed, and eventually Pereira secured the TKO win. This revelation changes the entire perspective around the fight. Ankalaev's toughness and refusal to back out are being praised by some, but others are questioning whether it was the smartest decision. Competing at the highest level with broken ribs is no small thing, and against someone like Pereira, it can be a nightmare scenario. For Pereira, this victory only adds to his reputation as one of the most dangerous and calculated finishers in the sport. For Ankalaev, it's a bitter reminder of how one injury can shape the outcome of a massive fight. Whether this leads to a rematch down the line remains to be seen, but it's clear now that Ankalaev was fighting through serious pain on fight night. Alex Pereira versus Carlos Ulberg reactions interim belt at 205. Alex Pereira versus Carlos Ulberg has completely shaken up the MMA world. The community is split right down the middle on this potential banger. Some fans even believe Ulberg is the more technical striker between the two. That's exactly what Renato Moano and Gilbert Burns discussed in their recent podcast, pointing out that Ulberg's striking is sharper and more methodical, while Pereira carries that freakish knockout power that can change a fight in seconds. At the same time, with Pereira teasing a move to heavyweight, there's already talk about an interim light heavyweight title fight between Yuri Prohaska and Ulberg, though nothing has been confirmed yet. Meanwhile, Ankalev's manager Ali Abdelaziz said there's no real bad blood between his fighter and Pereira, claiming most of the tension fans saw was just fight promotion. But Pereira clearly doesn't see it that way. He's been mocking Ankalaev non-stop on social media ever since. What about you, fight fans? Would you prefer Pereira talk on Ulberg in a battle of strikers, or see him move up a division and hunt for the third belt? Leave your comments below. I don't think he beats Brigg. Why not? I think Berg's going to be too technical for him. I think he beats everybody. He's like the only guy that can hang with Peloton on the feet, honestly, in the division. Man, that nobody can handle Pan on the feet. I said hang with a hang, not handle. Okay, bro. Carlos Berg he's arguably more technical than Peloton. He could not even sell the tickets on his counter. That's the problem. So what do you do from a match? I'm not trying to be a hater, but that's very hard, right? What do you do from a matchmaking standpoint then? Do you put Jerry versus Carlos Berg? Yes. Entering championship belt. And what do you do with Uncle? Uncle, send him to 3-style shop, my brother. Uncle versus Roundtree. Uncle, I like that. You like what you style shop? No, I like Ankalaev Roundtree. Honestly, Khalil is going to be a 2-deal within round 1 after you're coming off a knockout loss for Ankalaev. Moving on to another news. Conor has officially accepted an 18-month suspension under the UFC's anti-doping policy after failing to comply with drug testing protocols. This all stems from Conor failing to provide accurate whereabouts on 3 separate occasions throughout 2024, which under CSA regulations counts as a violation. Because of this, Conor will not be eligible to compete again until March 20th, 2026. Initially, the suspension was set at 24 months, but since Conor was recovering from injury and not actively preparing for a fight during that period, the penalty was reduced to 18 months. According to reports, Conor fully cooperated with the investigation, accepted responsibility, and gave detailed information that helped clarify the situation behind the missed tests. The bigger storyline here is how this affects his long-talked-about return to the Octagon. For months, Conor has repeatedly claimed that his fight with Chandler was signed, sealed, and on the books. But in reality, based on the UFC's usual process, it's extremely unlikely they'd finalize a fight that far in advance. Despite the suspension, Conor technically remains eligible to fight on the highly anticipated White House card scheduled for June 14th, 2026. This card has already been making waves in the combat sports world, and Conor has made it clear he intends to return on that stage. Chael Sonnen recently broke down this situation and explained exactly what a whereabouts violation means. When you're in the testing pool, you must be reachable 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. There are no exceptions. You have to let the testers know where you are at all times so they can find you whenever necessary. For most people, this would mean being at home, at work, or in between. If testers call, you can get home or to work quickly. But for someone like Conor, whose life is constantly on the move and far from normal, this becomes a much bigger challenge. Sonnen pointed out that it might sound simple on paper, but for an athlete with a global lifestyle, the reality is anything but easy. That's why these whereabouts rules exist, to ensure fairness and accessibility for testing at any time. The key takeaway is that this suspension, while significant, doesn't derail Conor's targeted comeback timeline. He'll be free to compete again a few months before the White House event, which lines up perfectly with his previously hinted return date. This sets the stage for a massive comeback fight, possibly involving Chandler or another top name at lightweight or welterweight. For now, the clock is ticking on Conor's suspension, and all eyes will be on June 2026, when the sport's biggest star steps back into the spotlight. Moving on to another news, Dana White is facing serious backlash from the MMA community over the rumored plan to book Justin Gaethje against Ilia to headline UFC 324. This rumor spread quickly a few days ago, and fans were far from pleased. Many believe Gaethje doesn't deserve a title shot, and the reaction online was brutal. The comments came flooding in, with fans accusing the promotion of forcing a matchup that no one was asking for. One fan wrote that putting Gaethje in the first big event of the year is like giving Paramount a blood sacrifice to kick off the new broadcast deal. Others said Gaethje's brawling style against Ilia's power would look like a 4K snuff film, predicting a violent and one-sided outcome. Another person added, "If they make this fight, the UFC is absolute dog." The backlash only got louder from there. Fans were calling Gaethje brain dead for getting another title shot and said anything other than Ilia versus Paddy would be promotional malpractice. Many argued that the fight with Paddy is already sitting right in the UFC's hands and that going in another direction would be risking the wrath of the MMA gods. People also pointed out that Gaethje has openly talked about retirement, questioning why the promotion would give a title shot to someone who might not even stick around afterward. Others called this one of the most undeserving title shots in years, saying it would be a horrible way to kick off the Paramount deal in 2026. Fans didn't hold back, calling Dana a terrible promoter and pleading with the UFC not to make this fight. It was clear many see Ilia versus Paddy as the fight that would generate massive hype, excitement, and a real storyline. Several people also pointed to the moment Arman got booked against Hooker, saying that's when they knew this fight was coming. They called it disappointing and uninspired. In the eyes of a large portion of the MMA community, Ilia versus Gaethje isn't the right fight, and they genuinely would rather see Ilia face Paddy instead. Moving on to another news, Merab's team has officially reacted to the growing talk of a potential fight against Alexander Volkanovski. After Merab's third successful title defense, the chatter around him moving up to 145 pounds has only gotten louder, while the champion himself has made it clear he has no immediate plans to chase a second belt unless the UFC extends the invitation. His team, including coach John Wood, is more than open to the idea. During a recent appearance on Submission Radio, Wood explained just how much he loves the thought of that matchup. In his words, Volkanovski might have slightly cleaner stand-up, but Merab's pace, even in a higher weight class, is something truly special and extremely hard to deal with. Wood described it as a fascinating fight because both men are incredibly tough, relentless, and exceptionally well-rounded. He knows it would be an absolute war between two elite athletes who never back down. Wood also mentioned another potential fight that excites him, a clash between Merab and Alexandre Pantoja. If the flyweight champ decides to move up to 135, he compared Pantoja's fighting style to Merab's, calling him the Merab of that division. He praised Pantoja as a dangerous, well-coached champion and said it would be an honor to welcome him to Bantamweight. But at the same time, Wood expressed complete confidence in Merab's dominance, making it clear that, in his view, no one from either Bantamweight or Flyweight can get past the champ right now. Even though nothing has been confirmed yet, Wood reiterated that Merab is eager to fight again before the year ends. Speaking on Daniel Cormier's YouTube channel, he said that if Merab wants to step back into the Octagon in December, nothing will stop him. He believes there's an 80% chance they'll actually make it happen. Wood emphasized Merab's hunger to break records, calling him a machine with the mentality of someone who simply doesn't slow down. The only real question left is who the opponent will be. There's growing talk around Ilia potentially facing Justin, and the entire bantamweight picture could shift quickly. One thing's certain, Merab is locked in and ready to go again before the year ends.